there, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Hughes. Thanks for joining me today. I want to share the story of what happened when I broke my arm and why I think that was probably one of the best things that happened to me. And to make a long story short, breaking my arm set me on a path of doing a thing that was totally different than I thought I would in my life. So let me just tell you the story. I broke my arm when I was 13. It was actually just after I turned 13. It had happened, I turned 13 within just a few days before that. And up until that time, I hadn't really given much thought to what I wanted to do with my life. I was a kid, 13. Like, you're not supposed to know what you want to do with your life at that point. But I will say, when I thought about things that I liked, being a doctor was not in there. It just wasn't one of the things. And nobody in my family does anything medical. There are no nurses, there are no doctors, there are no physical therapists, there are no pharmacists. There's nobody in my family who does anything medical. All right, so what specifically happened was I was out walking my dog right after school on a rainy, yucky, sub-zero, well, I should say sleeting, yucky, sub-zero day on a Friday afternoon. And I slipped and I fell and I broke my arm. And at first, it was a little strange because the pain didn't really hit right away. I mean, I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't really sure how wrong it was. I was like, I can't really move my arm and it doesn't feel good, but is this what a broken arm feels like? Well, I turned around and I went back home again, and my mom took one look at me as I walked in the door and she said, "Oh my God, we got to get you to the hospital." So we went to the hospital right away and sat in the emergency room and sat and sat. And finally somebody said, "Oh, you look like you need an x-ray." My arm went like this, like right at, this arm went, straight across here, and then the wrist was down here. So yeah, I need an x-ray. That's very true. So finally, it was just not a very friendly emergency room, and they sent me to get my x-ray done. But they didn't have the x-ray department anywhere near the emergency room, so I was sent up a floor and to walk down this huge long hallway. And by now, it had been more than 2 hours since I'd broken my arm, and it just hurt to move. And pain at that point can become incredibly blinding. Anybody who's really been in severe pain knows that you can kind of get lost in pain, and it seems like it's going to swallow you. Well, that's exactly what was happening to me. And so this walk to the x-ray department, nobody offered me a wheelchair. This walk to the x-ray department, the corridor of the hall of the hospital seemed to just go on forever and ever and ever. It was like this infinite thing. Getting the x-rays taken was very painful. And I was really frightened. And I think my mother, who was with me, was really frightened too, although she didn't say as much. But she was, really pretty scared and really frustrated. So after the x-rays were done, the people at the emergency room says, "Well, the doctor you need to see is across town, so you're just going to have to wait." Rather than waiting longer, we all bundled back in the car, which wasn't easy because by this time my arm was really hurting. It was painful to get a seatbelt fastened. It was painful to ride over a road. Any bump or jostle I felt in my arm. But we went across town. And fortunately, they were expecting me by this time, and we had the x-rays. We had to have the physical x-rays at the time, and we took those in, so we didn't have to do that again. Got situated in a room in the emergency room right away. But I was still in a lot of pain. I was still really, really frightened. Just really, really frightened. I didn't understand that this was ever going to be better because nobody had ever broken a limb in my family before, and I don't even think my parents broke a limb, so they didn't know what was to expect. And right, pretty soon after we got there, the doctor, the orthopedic surgeon who did pediatric orthopedics, walked in, and the first thing he did was he sat down right next to me and spoke to me, and he said, "You're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine." At that moment, even though I was still in a lot of pain, I just relaxed. The fear and the fright was gone. All of that fear was just gone. And I could just feel myself for the first time in now 3 or more hours since I broke my arm, actually like exhale. And then he told me what he was going to do, and he said, "Well, you're going to need a shot." And I said, "I don't want a shot." And he said, "Oh, you're going to like this shot." And the nurse on the other arm was taking care of my left arm. I'd broken my right arm, gave me the shot. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I like this shot." You know, it helped that it was some codeine and it was some pain reliever, and it was the first pain reliever I'd gotten in hours now. But just the way he said, "You're going to be okay. You're going to like this shot. It's going to be all right." So in the midst of all of this panic and fear and worry and uncertainty and pain, breaking a limb, I broke both bones clean through, displaced the fracture. It was, it's not a good fracture. I was able to realize that what that doctor did, making me feel better, was exactly what I wanted to do. And actually, it was a little bit further than that. It was what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to do that. I was supposed to be a doctor. And I had no idea what it was going to entail to be a doctor, but I never looked back. I studied some different things in college, and I had a job before I went to med school, just kind of to be sure that that's what I was supposed to do. But it was, and I've always come back to medicine. I guess the lesson of this story is, even in the middle of extreme pain and confusion and fear, that your illness, and illness in general, yours, mine, can have a lesson and a silver lining, and can actually redirect the course of your life and change what it is you do and help you discover what it is you're meant to do. It did that for me. And it's not the only time in my life that illness has told me or demonstrated to me or given me very, very clear signals of what I needed to do to become healthy and well, and to become more of who I'm supposed to be, a better person, to make myself more productive and happy and be able to spread what I do to greater people. So it hasn't been just breaking my arm. It was lots of little things that's happened through my whole life. All of it looks like adversity. And if you look at the actual facts, you'd say, "Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry that happened." Well, I'm not. I didn't like any of it. I didn't want to break my arm. I didn't want to have all these other things happen to me, but I'm glad they did. And I've learned so much from my illness. I've learned so much from being sick about what it is I'm supposed to do in the world. And being sick has actually made me a happier, healthier, more productive, more functional person. That is my wish for you. And that's what I help people do. I help people look at what illness is trying to tell them, what opportunities lies within this pain, this suffering. Because illness isn't something that happens to you. It may feel like that, and that's the automatic thought, but illness actually happens for you. And there is something to be gained from your illness and looking at it in a completely different way. tomorrow I'm going to talk about something related to this. So if you liked this video, check me out tomorrow. I am looking forward to it then. All right, so for now, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Hughes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.